And Ask Joe Anything today. Thank you for joining. We'll be here for the next 2 hours doing an Ask Joe Anything. I actually just got done. I was so excited for this. I've been waiting for this for the past couple weeks. I got super excited, was listening to the music, got out of my chair, started doing the Running Man and dancing to the music, and then realized, oh crap, 1 minute until I go live and I can't catch my breath. So here we are, trying to catch my breath, but definitely excited to do this. Last year, we met about 10 months ago, and we had this with Darren Kahn, one of my colleagues on the DevSecOps side of CyberArk, and we were able to touch on some of the new things that we were going to be talking about at CyberArk Impact that was coming up last year. Then I had a baby. So I disappeared for several months and focused on that. And now it's a new year. I'm back, ready to start this off again. Last year it was called the CyberArk Office Hours for automation and more. This year it's Ask Joe Anything. We're a platform, we're an identity security platform. There's more to it than just automation and more. So let's start acting like a platform, and I'll start approaching it like a platform as well. And so Ask Joe Anything, it could be any of the services that CyberArk provides, any of those solutions that you might be using today. We're going to be answering questions here, but the format for this particular live stream is going to go: the first hour will be catching up on CyberArk news, catching up on what's happened since the last time we were able to get together. And then I'll always bring on a guest, and that guest will be a subject matter expert in a particular topic as it pertains to cybersecurity. and we'll have a chat for the first hour, talk about some cool things that maybe they're bringing to the table. And then you give me a little bit of time, the show is yours. We turn it over to everyone in the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn right now, or you're on YouTube, or maybe you're even watching on demand. I will be setting up ways for you to be able to ask your questions and get them answered, even if you're watching this video on demand. We'll talk about that a little bit later today. But the second hour will focus on all of your questions. We'll try our best to answer them. We're human. We don't have all of the knowledge, but we'll definitely try to answer your questions to the best of our ability. But always understand that there are some things that we just can't get into. So we'll let you know when that comes up. As for today, we're going to be focusing in this particular live stream on CyberArk's identity and flows. The person that I've invited on the show for today was last year the identity subject matter expert for the Americas, recently has been promoted and is starting off this year as the manager. So we're very lucky to have him at the beginning of the year when he's fresh into his manager role, before he forgets all the technical information he had last year and turns into a true manager. So I invited him on here quickly so that we can get all of the knowledge on video in a live stream, answer your questions, check out what's going on with identity, flows, and more in the identity section. You can find him on social media as Jarbro. He is not a jar fanatic, nor is he a fraternity brother. He is, in fact, Jared Brodsky. Welcome, Jared. Glad to have you on. How are you doing?
What's going on, Joe? How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, I just set you up. Is there anything that I missed as far as your resume goes? You want to introduce yourself to the people a little bit more, a little bit better than I did at least?
I mean, I don't think we've ever particularly or explicitly discussed whether or not I like jars. I actually, all of my glasses in our kitchen happen to be used jelly jars because we go through a lot of jelly. I got two kids. They love their PB&J. So those jelly jars, man, dual use, save the planet.
It's funny you bring up PB&J because, I just had a kid last year, but I have two older ones, and my oldest is 12, and he has a nightly routine before bed of eating a peanut butter sandwich. And this has been going on for years. Like every night, it is like a routine at this point that he's going to ask for his peanut butter sandwich, regardless of what he just ate, regardless of what time of night it is. Like no sleep until peanut butter sandwich. Is that how it is with your kids?
We've been through that phase for sure.
Yeah.
We went from PB&Js all the time to just peanut butter sandwiches, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
We've come full circle back to PB&Js, but it's almost become this thing where if the kid's hungry, that's the first thing I'm offering because there's a good chance they'll say yes, and it's easy.
It's funny because this topic actually came up during our global kickoff a couple weeks ago, and there was someone during the global kickoff that happened internally who brought a great snack idea to the table. And I think it was, if I remember correctly, and you may remember once I start mentioning it, or maybe someone in chat can help us out. It was a peanut butter toasted sandwich, I think, but like it was just toast in the middle of the sandwich. So there were 3 slices, right? And so you have your white bread slices on the outside with peanut butter, and then they slip in a toasted peanut butter slice in the middle, kind of like a Big Mac, and that was their go-to midnight snack. It was something weird, but I remember hearing it and thinking, oh my gosh, I've never thought about putting anything like another slice of bread inside of a peanut butter and jelly, or trying to get crazy with different ways of dealing with that. So I don't even know like how we started the first 10 minutes of a cybersecurity live stream with talking about peanut butter and jellies, but here we are. Definitely a good start to 2024. But no, thanks for being here, Jared. So I am familiar with CyberArk Identity simply because that's how I'm accessing all of our SaaS services today. So I'm familiar with it because I have to log in through it in order to then jump off to either my different web apps that I have tiles set up for within it that I need to SSO out to, or I'm going to log in and then jump over to Privilege Cloud or some other services to do some work. That's really the expanse of my knowledge, right, in dealing with identity. But I know there's a lot more to it than just that can be done within it. So I'm hoping that you can kind of, let us know a little bit of information around the full capabilities of identity outside of what a typical user would experience it in their day-to-days.
Yeah, so CyberArk Identity as a whole is relatively new, right? Offering from CyberArk. It's been under the CyberArk umbrella now for about 2 years. It initially came through via acquisition of a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant of a company called Idaptive, and we've totally CyberArkified, if that's a word. If it's not, I just made it a word. Where we've kind of taken it and we've really taken that whole identity platform. And when I talk about identity platform, think of it as your identity provider, right? The kind of the central underpinnings of all of your identities within an organization, where the user logs in, like Joe said. They start their day. We provide that SSO, that MFA, all of that conditional logic, lifecycle automation to an organization. But as we've kind of shifted from, when we were in our self-hosted, privilege and EPM type of environments where things were kind of disconnected, what we've done is as we've made this transition into SaaS, we've consolidated and built all of our new CyberArk cloud offerings on top of this centralized platform, right? So now we have this centralized console where not only can you do all of your user management into your for folks that may need to access their privilege cloud for their PAM and their privileged accounts, to jumping off into things like dynamic privilege access or secure cloud access or any other services that we have within the the CyberArk Identity umbrella, to kind of give that unified, and I'll use that term that I myself hate, but it's that proverbial single pane of glass to manage all of your identity related services, all under where that CyberArk the home of CyberArk is. And as we kind of go through some of this transition, you're going to see some really awesome developments coming as these all of these things kind of get merged and congeal together, right? So things like jumping off and being able to launch a PSM session without natively going into the PVWA, being able to just click on a link right from within our soon to be launched that we announced last Impact, the CyberArk Secure Browser, right? So there's a lot that's kind of going on, that everything is built on top of this strong identity foundation that could be leveraged through different areas of your organization, from the most privileged all the way down to like Joe said again, accessing your applications within your organization that may not be federated into an identity provider. Things like either applications that are legacy and they don't support standard federation like SSO or OIDC, and still rely on either username and password, or maybe they're backed by AD via LDAP, and give a enterprise password manager baked into that single platform. And there's just some really exciting things going on that that have been announced probably since the last time Joe did this, and even more stuff that we're going to be announcing at this upcoming Impact down in I think it's Nashville, right, Joe?
Yeah, so it's funny you bring that up, because I was actually going to bring it up in a couple minutes. So we can just jump to it now, because we do have Impact 24 that has been announced. It is slated for May 20th through the 22nd. It is going to be in Nash Vegas. So super excited about that. I haven't been to Nashville in quite a while, so looking forward to doing it. Also, really liking the landing page here for Impact, the animation behind it. If you keep an eye on it, they go from it's basically all encompassing Impact 23 last year, from literally them building the stage all the way through the event to the end of the event. So if you watch that little background here, it'll go through all of that. And a lot of that is actually encapsulated in the top moments from Impact 23 that you can check out here. But one of those things from Impact 23 that I did want to bring up with you to get a little bit more information on was so there was a couple things that were introduced last year at Impact 23. This blog post here out on CyberArk.com mentions new identities, environments, and attack methods. Skipping the identities and environments, which there will be more live streams focused on what those introduced in the future with some of those services. But specifically for you, if we go down to the new attack methods, right, you wouldn't think that you guys would fall under that section. But as we scroll down more, one of the innovations that came from one of those attack vectors is the CyberArk Secure Browser that was announced last year. Now, I'm going to be honest, right? Like, I work at CyberArk, and even I haven't seen much around the CyberArk Secure Browser. This link does go to a blog post from May last year, right after Impact. That ding that you heard happens every time I navigate to a page now on cyberark.com because they're trying to get me to talk to this chatbot down here. So just ignore that if you see it or if you hear it. But
that goes right to Joe, actually, those chatbots.
It's going right to a person sitting in front of a computer ready to talk back to you, right? There's no AI. It's just I. It links to a blog post from after, or during even Impact last year, as we pump out these press releases when we make announcements. But I'm hoping that you can kind of fill in some information on what this looks like, what it's all about, what makes it a secure browser. Also feel free if you happen to have a live demo here that you want to showcase. I am always happy to open the screen sharing floor up to you to, tangle with the gods out there if you want. So,
well, thank you for putting me on the spot there. But yes, the CyberArk Secure Browser is indeed a real thing. I know there was a lot of excitement. Even like Joe said, internally, it took a very long time for us to get eyes on it. There's now I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I actually have a chocolate peanut butter protein bar right in front of me because but let me can I open the stage? Actually, before I open the stage, let me just set the let me set the stage, I should say. So over the course of the past couple of years, as we've seen a shift in where computing takes place, right? A lot of that has moved into the browser. The browser has become that main kind of application in your environment where users are interacting with corporate data, be it, your traditional knowledge worker, right? Dealing with just your data entry, to HR who's dealing with PII, or to someone in finance dealing with sensitive information in terms of, in the accounts receivable, accounts payable, dealing with wire transfer information. I'm sure we've all heard, and I've seen in prior organizations that I've been with where, we all think we're impenetrable and we're all smart enough to pick up on these phishing campaigns that may say, "Hey, I need you to wire X, Y, and Z." But I think at our last Impact, we demonstrated how realistic some of these new deep fakes can be with AI. I think we did one where we had a deep fake of Udi on stage. So it's really about how we can go through and secure that new entry point into the that the workforce deals with. And we're not the only ones that know that, right? The attackers are knowing that too. And I was just on a call the other day with one of our lead red teamers, and a lot of the times these attackers aren't even so much looking at these traditional attack vectors anymore of, dropping malware onto an endpoint, trying to establish some sort of persistence, and then going through your traditional, lateral and vertical movements to get to tier 0 type of assets. At this point, right now, they're just doing standard non-privileged type of access on an endpoint that allows them to steal session cookies, right? And a lot of the time, some of these endpoint agents on these workstations, I mean, someone could just be going into the browser and just going into that non-protected area where those cookies live, and that's not traditionally seen as a traditional TTP, right? So how do we go through and truly secure the workforce from these type of attacks that are shifting to, stealing that AWS cookie, or stealing that Workday cookie, or stealing those, any other cookies that can potentially give them access into the much larger SaaS environments where there's just a lot more privilege that can be had. So with that said, right, this is kind of why we kind of went down this path of how do we go out and really secure that, that new area, or not new area, but the new attack vector that we're kind of seeing.
And I remember seeing, so that this is kind of the end result of a lot of CyberArk Labs research then, because I remember the past 2 previous impacts, watching Andy Thompson and Lavi from CyberArk Labs doing a lot of cookie-based attacks on Chrome browsers and things like that. So it's really cool to see, the research that goes in from the CyberArk's lab perspective now, creating the foundation and the problem statement that we're solving in, the new innovations that we're coming out with here at CyberArk. So if you happen to have it up, and you want to throw your desktop into the studio, I can shoot it over so you can show us what it looks like. I've seen screenshots in Teams as some team members have been messing around with it, but definitely interested in getting a good view of what's going on here. Let me go ahead and add you now. There we go.
So to the moon, right? Excelsior, all that good stuff. That's my background. But so you'll see, right? CyberArk Secure Browser is just it's another app. And the one thing about CyberArk Secure Browser that you'll notice immediately upon launching it is it looks awfully Chromey, right? And why does it look Chromey? Right. Well, it is a fork of the infamous Chromium project, not a fork of infamous Joe G.
I didn't make it, no.
So what's really nice about this is we're not necessarily looking to, it's not meant to replace your existing browsers. It's really while it can, it's meant to be kind of go alongside them. So if you've already kind of gone ahead and you've created and you have all these great, group policies, or you have these Intune policies that are pushed out, that you've already gone through and you've hardened down these browser environments. And I want to add in, hardening the browser environment, while it probably can create some user friction, it is some of the easiest risk reduction an organization can take to properly secure their environment, right? And some of those things that we love when we see our customers do, and I, when I used to be a sysadmin, would do as well, is, some simple things like don't allow your end users, turn off the GPO that allows end users to sign into the browser with their personal Gmail accounts or personal accounts, because you don't know how much stuff those browsers are syncing or synchronizing back and forth to these public cloud services. So if you are, if you signed in via your local Chrome browser and your password autofill is turned on and you're logging into corporate assets or anything like that, right? Those are going to get captured by the browser, synced up to your personal account.
Right.
And then you're sitting at home on your workstation mining Bitcoin. And I don't know, is mining Bitcoin still worth it? I mean,
That is, it seems to be like the end result of, most of these attacks is like that you got access to all this IP, throw some Bitcoin miners out there, make a bunch of noise.
No, I don't know. People, maybe they're mining some other altcoin now. I don't know. It's not Dogecoin, but who knows? That's a different podcast.
I got out of it 2 years ago as things started getting haywire, and then I think it was FTX happened last year, and I was like, done. Just chalk it into the scam bucket and walk on.
Right. But again, it's like you start, you sync the browser, and you all of a sudden you do something in your personal machine, and you don't think that there's some sort of exfiltration happening, intentional or not, malicious or not. Someone gains a foothold in your own personal machine because they've targeted you via LinkedIn because they're like, oh, Joe's this guy at company with privilege. Maybe I should.
No, they don't give me any privilege. They know better than that.
Yeah. But it's just,
they give me a camera. That's about it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it looks like you have a better camera than I do, so I'm talking to the wrong people. But again, right, it all comes down to if any of those policies. It's very easy for me to go on a tangent. I'm the king of tangents. Ask my boss. Any of those policies that you've already put in through GPO, we will read those policies when secure browser is installed, and we'll automatically apply any of those controls to the controls for secure browser. So you're not having to go through and recreate any kind of Chrome policies for another application. As it is, I know that managing GPOs for Chrome, for Edge, possibly Firefox, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot. They're all different. They're all different settings. Yeah. It's a lot to manage. So we want to try and make that as easy as possible for, the desktop teams or these administrators that are going to end up, deploying this and managing it.
So, when I was in on the other side, right? When I was a customer looking, from that direction in, it was, the time was 2015, and back in my day, we used IE11, right? So what are people doing today now that Internet Explorer is completely deprecated? There is Edge that you could go to, but isn't Edge just a fork of Chromium as well? So can you do what do you see most organizations doing? Are they embracing the giving people options, kind of like they are with devices now today? Do you want a Windows or a Mac? Or are they saying, hey, you know what? We've always been Microsoft heavy, like enforcing IE11. We're going to enforce Edge and then have exceptions for maybe Chrome. Do you have any sense of how organizations are managing this commonly today?
I mean, I've seen a huge push towards Opera lately.
Opera? I was going to say, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? I haven't heard that in years. But you know what? It always ends up on my son's PC, so I'm not discounting the fact that people are going.
Maybe I should have said Brave, but again, so for a long time when IE was getting long in the tooth, and IE is still very much part of Windows. It's not the Trident engine that powered IE11 is still alive and well in a DLL. That that legacy, let's say applications that maybe rendered web viewers internally within that app leverage that DLL from Trident to do the rendering, right? So it still exists in the OS for backwards compatibility, but it's no longer used as a front end, front user facing engine to power the web. So for those kind of, it's still there. You could still run iExplorer.exe and, it'll probably yell at you and be like, why are you still using this? Install Edge. And then you go to click install Edge. And then it tells you that, I'm sorry, JavaScript isn't enabled. You can't install Edge. And then you disable everything and you still can't install Edge.
Yeah.
And then you're doing,
sounds about right.
And then you're dodoing PowerShell to do an invoke rebel request just to download the damn thing.
It sounds like you've been down this path before.
just once or twice. What were we talking about? Sorry.
So you got deep into the weeds into
Yeah.
the architecture of Internet Explorer.
Yes.
And my question was about how organizations are approaching having no IE
Thank
to
you.
standardize on. Yeah.
So when IE was getting long in the tooth, and this I think is where I diverged. So thank you for putting me back on
Yeah,
track.
no problem.
The default go-to was Chrome, right? It was the most well-recognized browser. Everybody used it. There was no learning curve. It just worked. It reduced any kind of, help desk calls and all that other kind of stuff because it just did what it was supposed to do. But over the past number of years, Chrome is sort of, at least from my interactions and what I've seen, has started to fall out of favor. It's still there, but there's now that Edge is built on this same reliable Chromium engine, and it still leverages all the same extensions. And for the most part, the group policies and the management of it is extremely similar. And of course, it comes out of the box with any Windows machine. It also, it's cross-platform, so you could deploy it on Mac and control it the same way. Edge is on Mac, yeah, cross-platform.
I use Firefox, so I don't have that problem.
I use Firefox as well.
I don't have to go looking for Edge.
A big Mozilla supporter,
Yes.
and so we definitely have seen a lot more where Edge is kind of taken over in enterprise because it's one less application to push out. It's one less thing to manage. This is my assumptions. I'm not obviously, doing these deployments, but Edge seems to be the primary browser that we're seeing kind of as the go-to.
Okay. So one quick question, because we did get it in while we were chatting and getting ready to do this. From a LinkedIn user, don't know who they are, but hello, LinkedIn user.
Hello, LinkedIn user.
Would you say the browsers become the new OS or kernel, given the large number of web apps that now exist? And I'd like to get your opinion on it. My opinion is that it definitely can be. I mean, Chromebooks prove that point, right? They're still on the market. They're still alive and kicking, and that is literally just a browser, right? An operating system with a Chrome browser. So love to hear your take on that, though.
Well, you just stole exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, it's like, I'll tell you what I could say, but I think Google has said it very loudly in the fact that, the Chromebook speaks for itself. It's a single, I have a kid behind me over here who just came back.
Is that Addie?
That's Addie. She just got back from school. Her first day back after 3 days of being out sick.
I'm sure mine will come crashing in here soon, but it's all good, dude. We're just having fun.
Chrome released the Chromebook how many years ago now, and I've actually seen organizations where they don't deploy Windows. They don't deploy, they're not deploying Macs. Like they are primarily deploying Chromebooks, and we see it more so in the smaller organizations that might just be getting started with building out a workforce, because they may not have IT staff.
That makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense.
And they could run over to any Best Buy or any electronic store, Amazon, just order a computer for $200-300.
Yeah.
And
use Google Docs, right? It's all SaaS. 365 even now is all. You don't need to really install anything locally. We do it for like ease of use and for maybe like a power user experience, because we get more options that way. But if I'm just doing data entry, which hasn't made it to RPA yet for whatever reason in my organization, right? I only need a Chromebook. Or maybe I don't need a Chromebook because it's all, mainframe, DOS based.
Right.
Who knows, right?
And you got a green screen.
Yeah. So let's get this demo in. Leo's in the chat telling you to log in, Jared. So refresh that QR code and let's check this out.
Cool.
And see what you got.
Yeah. So first thing I'll point out, right? So this is the latest release of our secure browser that's still kind of behind the scenes. It ties directly into the CyberArk Identity platform in order to actually start using anything, right? It automatically launches. It has to be registered against a CyberArk environment before you can start using it. So if I even try and come here and go to, I don't know why, I always seem to try and go to Yahoo. That's what my fingers do. It's going to automatically redirect me and say, in order to establish any sort of session that's going to be secure, you need to log in. And we could log in this case with any of the factors that we have available configured on my CyberArk environment. I could log in passwordless and keyboardless by scanning a QR code with my iPhone, or I can go ahead and authenticate directly against our cloud directory. I could authenticate against Active Directory, Azure AD, Google Directory, and LDAP
Do you know how
source.
I authenticate?
You authenticate with your elbow.
No.
Well, like, is that like Touch ID with your elbow?
I was using QR code up until last week when I discovered that Identity supports passkeys, and I created myself a passkey, and now I log in with my passkey. It is amazing.
That is true. Nice call out. CyberArk did just release passkey support to be able to log into our identity solution. Just another fork or flavor, I should say, of WebAuthn from the FIDO2 Alliance. So again, just another unphishable, or I don't like to say unphishable, a phishing resistant mechanism to gain access into any sort of environment. So, and right now I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to log in here just using my username and password here. I'm going to spin for a minute because that's what my computer is going to do.
Yeah, it's a live demo.
Of course. Oh, it's also because I put in the wrong username.
Ah, there you go.
It would help if I knew where I was logging into. That's a lot better.
All right, Leo, looking like it is 5 minutes time to log in from your request. So not too bad, Jared.
All right. So I just tapped my little YubiKey.
Ooh.
And we are getting logged in. So first thing you'll see, right, is kind of my user portal here. This could be any number of tiles, right? For those of you using, an IDP, you're kind of probably familiar to this app tile type of interface. This could be access to, Slack, or I have a live flows app here that one of our chat members has built out, Joe. Different Joe, and right. Which we could talk about when we jump into the flows. But any SSO application, any enterprise password, any kind of password like a login to a FedEx or to some non-SSO can be stored all in here and integrated with the the identity kind of browser extension for quick access to those passwords. But to jump into the browser itself, right, you'll notice there's something that's kind of unique already, and that's this kind of CyberArk productivity pane here. Right. So what this pane does, it's just another kind of panel that can pop on or off throughout your browser session, right? For now I can go through and I could jump into, I can go to Amazon, or I can go to whatever else it is. Now, what's really great about this is we talked about it, there's no browser cookies being stored. Mm-hmm. So not only is it going to be inherently secure, but you'll still get the, so we're not like eradicating the notion of the cookie, right? You still need cookies to be able to operate within them, but we're no longer storing them locally on the endpoint. We got some magic going behind the scenes. I'm specifically calling it magic because I don't know the exact architecture of what the actual process is of how we are securing them as of right now. I know they're getting secured to the cloud, so I don't want to give out any misinformation on that until we get some more.
So the browser is communicating with our shared services in the cloud?
Yes.
Okay, because that was actually a question that came in from Deepak. So asking first if it's part of ISPS and if licensing will be different. I don't want to answer the licensing part very descriptively, except for maybe like, is it licensed, yes or no? And if so, how would that be scoped at a very high level?
So things that I also still can't answer today.
Okay,
Now
that's fine.
keep in mind
But it
what we're
is
looking at.
licensed, correct?
Again, something that I don't know.
Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine. Just making sure.
Yep, it will be part of the ISPSS or the shared services platform, right? But in terms of, I think we'll have more of those answers as we get closer to GA, right? Because again, we're looking at a pre-release internal version of this right now, as a sort of a little bit of a teaser, just special for Joe. So
yeah, we
you'll
did the
notice,
same thing with DPA as well.
Yeah,
with Mike Bycutt, that was fun.
So you'll notice here, right? So even though I'm totally on a different website and I still have access to any of those applications that I may need to jump into that we just saw on my portal a minute ago, but this is where it gets really cool, right? So if you take a look here in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll notice there are what things that look like entries from your privilege cloud or your vault environment,
yeah,
right?
a lot of my stuff was showing up in there. I'm a little concerned with what you're doing with my things in your tenant.
Yeah, well, don't put your stuff in a shared environment,
I'm
Joe.
just kidding.
So, but what this actually allows us to do is I can come to, let me go to my favorites actually. Hopefully the favorites is working right now. Yeah, there it is. Cool. So I have a couple of accounts that I've favorited, and these are the exact favorites that I've done in my Privilege Cloud environment. So this is pulling all the safes and all the accounts that I have access to through Privilege Cloud and embedding them right within the CyberArk browser. So if I needed to come in here and, jump into, PSM session, let's see, that one, it looks like I don't, you know what it is? I don't have access to it because I haven't requested access to it. So
there's an approval workflow.
There's an approval workflow.
I'm glad it supports that. That is a great thing to support.
Well, no, it's not. It's not your standard approval workflow. It's a request workflow that I need to launch via flows. In order to approve access via Slack.
Well, this demo just took a twist, didn't it?
It did just take a twist. It was an unintended twist because something didn't work.
Wow. So that brings us to Flows, which is our low code, no code automation platform for our services and external services as well.
That is true. So
if for everyone who's out there in Eli 5, if you're unfamiliar with an Eli 5, explain it like I'm 5, right? The Eli 5 of Flows is, imagine that you have a platform or website that you go on to that you can drag and drop things, right? And kind of create a flow chart of actions that you want to take. And you can do that similar to how in Postman, right? When we're dealing with Postman as an API client, we're setting up tabs for each step of the process that we want to take, and we're sending each one of those. The same idea, only Flows is a little bit more interactive than Postman. A little bit more visual and cool in my opinion, the way it's done. You can show it if you want, Jared. We've got like 20 minutes before we'll start answering some questions from chat. So we have time to check everything out. I don't know that it was necessarily something you intended on showing, so I don't want to force the subject if you're not prepared for it. But I'll leave that completely up to you. I think that it's a really cool platform to talk about, but I also haven't seen the secure browser as well, so definitely want to make sure that we can finish checking that out. So
we definitely can drive it. Yeah, we definitely can. This is I'm not gonna go deep in the weeds. I'm just gonna kind of show you the art of the possible, right, and what Flows can do to potentially help you operationalize and automate some things. So I mentioned here I have Flows. It's embedded as an application in my portal. This could be embedded into any any IDP, if you will. So it's just basically linked off as an OIDC connection. So I launched this. Launches a little micro app. This is a safe access request flow that we built out. So I need to get safes to, I need to get access to my enterprise admin safe. The permissions I need, we have listed all the different permissions available. I just want to show you connect access. So I'm going to choose connect. How long is the duration? 24 hours. And again, all of these things that we're putting, these are fully customizable based on whatever the requirements are for your flow. And then I could say need access for Joe G's stream.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll go ahead and submit that.
I approve.
Now you approve. Well, I don't know. Do you approve? So you'll
I think I
notice...
have access to that. I think I can actually approve this. I'm not going to get in there. I'm not going to get in there in time. So, but yeah, there I am right there. All right. I see me.
So you can see here that we've tied this into Slack. This could be into any chat ops tool or email or whatever, you want to make that approval process. So you can see who the requester was, what the safe was, how long they want access for, what permissions, and the reason. And at this point, I could just go ahead and say approve. What that's going to do is it's going to go ahead and launch another browser window here. It's gonna, I was already logged in on this, so it's going to just go through it, authenticate. I was already authenticated, so I didn't have to re-authenticate me. If I wasn't authenticated, I'd have to log in with the right account and everything to make sure I have permissions to approve. And then you'll see here that user provisioning status is done, who approved it, and everything, right? So now, if everything worked as expected, right? Hopefully this little refresh here, I might have to actually go into Privilege Cloud and do the, oh, there it is, it happens. So you notice before those dots, those little 3 ellipses dots weren't there. Now I can come through and what does that say? Dual request isn't supported from here. So apparently, sorry. Yeah, apparently there's somebody must have turned on a dual request workflow on that application. Oh, here we go. Let's try this one.
Okay.
If not, we'll find another one that we could connect to.
So you requested access to all of the secrets in a single safe.
Yes, correct.
Okay. That's what that flow was doing. Okay.
That's what that flow was doing. So you'll see
not
it's
to a specific account. I thought it was to a specific. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you'll see I click on connect. It launches PSM via our HTML5 gateway natively right within the browser. You don't have to worry about going into PVWA or going into your Privilege Cloud interface, and it's going to launch that. In this case, the application I happened to launch was the OTP app that we have that you can use for like authenticating to AWS root or something similar to that. But again, this could be into any other RDP session that for any Windows host. You can use PSMP, right? The PSM for SSH can launch in here. So any of your connection components that you've developed for PSM would launch natively within the context of the secure browser with easy access to it directly from this little productivity pane on the browser side. So
that's cool.
Again, yeah. So again, it's trying to streamline the workflow and having less jumps to jump through, to go from one context to another context, just to switch back to that context, just to launch a specific application.
So do you see, so we have another browser plugin that we do use for workforce password management. Do you see that? Is that going to be, and if you don't have this information, that's fine, but do you know if that is a part of this secure browser, or if that's going to be built into the secure browser so that we can kind of populate username password fields with things that are vaulted?
Yeah, so a couple of cool things. Just had a meeting actually about this the other day. We are talking, and one of the big requests that we've had from customers like you in the chat is, well, maybe non-custom, I don't know who's in the chat, LinkedIn user. Can we leverage the CyberArk Workforce Password Manager, which is our, the enterprise password manager, to potentially pull vaulted credentials that are being managed by the CPM and rotate and all that other good stuff that you've been doing, if you're following the CyberArk blueprint, to inject those into a web app? And the answer is yes, not today though. So we're working on that integration, what that's going to look like, how we're going to do that securely, right? We always want to make sure that whatever we're coming up with doesn't allow for any malicious type of behavior. So that's still kind of going through development, but it is something that we are working on internally. Mm-hmm. The other bit, just about the TOTP storage of passwords, that is definitely something that we also can bring to your end users, right? So for your end users, and let me just fire up another browser window here really quickly.
The TOTP stuff is where you are able to basically automatically, right, without user input, answer one-time passcode challenges that happen when you're logging into like websites and stuff.
Bingo. So think about like you have GitLab, right? And you need to log into your GitLab account or your GitHub account, and you have to put in that that Google Authenticator code.
Yeah,
we can store that code for you via the that TOTP seed, which they is typically under the QR code when you sign up, and we can use that to generate the TOTP code. So we could securely store that along with your username and password, right? Just so to kind of keep that all. And what's really also really nice about that is it's also really important for shared accounts, right? We hate to think that shared accounts exist. Everybody should have their own account. But there are a lot of services out there where they just don't have that user management built in, or I've even seen stuff where it's prohibitively expensive to license SSO capabilities for an enterprise app, right? There's a website out there called sso.tax that actually shows you the difference in prices in order to get SSO enabled in their application platform.
Oh, wow.
And in some cases, it's over 1,000% more expensive to get those enterprise features for something that's just basic security in a multi-user environment. Wow. So when you're talking about how do you, there may be accounts out there where maybe a marketing department or maybe some department doesn't have budget to actually roll it out for that. And they're like, okay, we'll get 2-3 accounts, we'll have them shared, but we still need them to be secure, right? What we can do there is, I don't know if my screen is still being presented there.
I can.
All right, cool. So, for my GitHub account here, I can come through here. I have my username and password, and I can zoom in a little bit on this to make it a little easier on the eyes. I got my username in here. I got a password stored, the authentication key, which is the TOTP secret that we store. And then I have that, OTP seed here.
Yeah, now, but the authentication key is not something that I ever receive when I'm setting this up. So like if I'm setting up an authenticator for access to like GitHub, I'm just, taking a picture of a QR code and it's synchronizing with my authenticator on my device. But like, where do you get the authentication key from? Where does that come into play? Like,
yeah. So whenever you see a QR code that you're registering for TOTP, there's going to usually be that says like, there'll be some sort of notification on there that says don't have a camera, or can't.
Yeah. There's a little link that I never.
There's a little
QR code.
Yeah, there's a little link that says like show seed key, and paste that into your application, because I know that, like, for example, my aunt used to work for a law firm in New York City, and this is years ago, and even years ago they had their devices so locked down because she had to go into court regularly, and you weren't allowed to bring a mobile device into a courtroom that had a camera on it at the time. Yeah. So granted, QR codes weren't really a thing back then, but if she was trying to, set that up using her, I think it was probably her BlackBerry at the time. I don't even know. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
You would have to use that seed key, and then just copy and paste that into that authentication key to get that code generated, right? So again, now I probably wouldn't necessarily be sharing out my GitHub account, so this is not the best example. But from here, I can
real quick before you click on. No, I'm just.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I was not in terms of sharing that out, but just more so about, right. This would probably be more along the lines like FedEx. I don't think FedEx offers TOTP, but if I wanted to go here and say I wanted to share it out with, let me see, I don't even know who I have in here. Here, DevOps, right? I'm going to share this out with my DevOps admins. Give them all access.
Do it.
Right, exactly. I could share this out with people that live within the CyberArk Identity directory or
Click
any of the other directories. Boom.
It's gone. It's gone.
Gone.
It's gone.
Gone.
It's
I'm
stolen.
owned.
It's in GitHub, public source code. It's gone. Jenkins right now is spreading it across the internet.
Right. However, I will say though, while I shared it out, you'll notice that they still don't have access to the password, right? Because you could define the password permissions. So do I want to allow them to view the password?
That's cool. Okay.
Right. So I could let them view it or I could let them change it. But then I could say, oh, guess what, guys? I'm playing a cruel joke on you. You only have access to this application until like 3 o'clock. So you have 8 minutes, to gain to gain access to it. Right. But again, it's just kind of like tying it all together, right? For having that like time bound access around, potentially sharing any kind of credentials within your, for a potential shared account that you may need to share, and then you can revoke it and, and all that kind of stuff and send notifications out when it gets shared. So, a lot of this stuff, I didn't intend on kind of tying all flows and like all this to, as individual talking points, but I think it just speaks to the integration that we've been doing as part of the shared services, that everything is really tightly tied together. And it makes it's a very natural transition to go from like, logging in, hopping into a PSM session. Oh man, I didn't have access. Let me submit, that request, and then but let me get the TOTP, like all that kind of stuff. It just very naturally kind of comes together when it's all tied under that single that single kind of platform.
That's crazy. Considering that about an hour ago, my experience with Identity was just using it to log in to get to Conjure Cloud, Secrets Hub, and all the things that I actually care about, to now all of these things are actually under your identity umbrella is insane. So definitely doing a lot more than just, having people broker through you to get to other services, which is cool.
Right.
I do want to spend a couple minutes on some questions that have been coming in through chat, specifically around the secure browser that you just demonstrated. The first one that I'm going to highlight is from one of our partners, and I think that this question is going to reflect a lot of the requests you're going to get once this is evangelized a little bit more and comes closer to GA. Leo here from YouTube asked if the CyberArk Secure Browser, which he's already figured out the acronym that we would love everyone to get used to using, CSB, is the new PSM client, which I'll let you respond to that. I have my own feelings about that. But he does go on to ask, and I think this is the part where I think that the messaging coming during the initial announcements of the secure browser and stuff maybe happening at Impact should maybe help to rectify our approach with it. He asks, is there plans to add verify, change, and reconcile to the account actions in that sidebar of the CSB, which basically it could be turned into an even greater question of, do you, and I know that this is, so prefacing this is not roadmap discussion. This is not product discussion. This is me just trying to, look into the future of the art of the possible as it pertains to the CyberArk Secure Browser. Do you ever see that potentially becoming the new front end to accessing accounts and identities that are protected and managed by our platform?
I don't know. Let me put on my glasses that let me see into the future.
You came prepared.
Okay. All right. So here's what I'm seeing. Maybe. I think the future says maybe. It's like a magic 8-ball, right?
Oh my gosh.
I think it's too early to say what will actually happen with where we go, there's so much functionality within our existing UI with all the ways that we manage and we interact with accounts, that to replicate all of that out of the gate, right, is just not. I think we're focusing. No. I think we're trying to focus on like the big wins, right? And some of the big wins is being able to give you easier access to that connect button, right? We could all connect via RDP and all of our native clients and tools. But I think what we're really going to end up doing is we're really going to be looking at, feedback from our customers. Like, what is it that you need? What features will make it better for you to work smarter and more secure within, is having a verify button something that you would find yourself doing, every time you log in to connect to a resource? Or is that something that maybe you do once a month, or, maybe you look in something, you see that lovely red, that line on your PVWA that it's out of compliance and you need to verify or change it. So, I think I think we need to look at this as this is new territory for CyberArk in a lot of ways. And I think, feedback from everyone in the channel, be it through, this type of forum or on social media or with your, SEs or account reps, or even, at local CyberArk meetups or Impact or whatever it may be, like, bring us the things that you would like to see in the secure browser and
put them in chat right now. You don't even have to wait. You don't need
to yeah, exactly.
Don't just start putting them in chat right now. Like, everyone will see it. They'll come, they'll see the video, they'll check out, like, when this goes on demand, every chat message that's coming across is going to be coming across as well on demand. So, feel free, use the chat,
I mean, do we have I think didn't we talk about having a hashtag for like feature questions or something like that?
So yes, on like Twitter and LinkedIn and stuff like that, to where we could kind of track the questions and stuff. But I want to play a game real quick. And I don't think that we've ever played this game in public before, but we love to play it on our, Teams group chats all the time. And so, when you have a Teams group chat filled with engineers and a problem arises, what do you think happens? Every engineer rushes for an answer. And so we're going to play what I would like CyberArk Secure Browser to be like in the future and how it can be done, right? So I really like, and I'm going to bring it back up, I think that Leo's question starts to create a fork in the road, right? When it comes to the secure browser, there's going to be two different types of people who are using it. There's going to be your end users who maybe need to interact with CyberArk just because they need access to maybe a website or two, or access to a web app or whatever that happens to be managed by CyberArk. And then there's going to be the Leos of the world, who are the vault administrators of CyberArk, who are power users of CyberArk, or maybe they are a safe manager of one or two safes. And so doing things like verify, change, and reconcile makes sense to them, but not necessarily to anyone else. And so I think that what would be really cool for the future of the secure browser, again, this is me just playing art of the possible, what I would like to see. This doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but I would love for us to somehow be able to utilize the profile features of the browser so that you can have a profile for an end user, a profile for an admin, a profile for and that basically changes the behavior of that sidebar and what options are available to you. If I am just a normal user that has, list, use, retrieve on accounts because I need PSM, I need to show copy maybe sometimes and see what secrets I have access to, that's fine. You can have like minimal access and stuff and just utilize it that way. But then I think as things mature and years from now, as everyone starts to set CyberArk Secure Browser as the default in all of the organizations around the world, which is what's going to hopefully eventually happen with this, right? If we're successful, people will be able to utilize it as the, the one-stop shop in a way. If I'm already authenticating just to use the browser, why not give me that easy access to all of the services that I am allowed and privileged to see and to utilize? So I think that it is definitely possible. I think that the browsers today, the way that they're built and the way that they handle multiple profiles is already ripe for being utilized. And I think it's just a matter of, first getting it GA, right? Getting it out from an internal release. And then really listening to the customer's feedback from there, like you had said. That's really what's going to drive this at the end of the day, if we're being honest, is the feedback that we receive and how this is being utilized. So definitely a great idea, Leo, that I'm sure you didn't think would turn into an enhancement request of sorts in our own minds with how we would like to see things go. But there is one more secure browser question. Then we're going to open it up to everyone else who is asking questions. So please get those questions in chat. We're switching over to the second hour and the final hour of Ask Joe Anything today. This question, again, from YouTube. We need to get LinkedIn users in here. W's in chat if you're watching on LinkedIn. Let's get W's in chat. Just throw a W up in there. It's one letter, and I'll see everybody from LinkedIn coming through, and I'll feel a little bit more comfortable. Shout out to Jane Little out there on LinkedIn. Just saw her come through. But this question, oh, wait, this isn't a question. Well, it kind of is, yeah. So it starts off explaining or answering a previous question. But the actual question is, the CyberArk Secure Browser, does it have any synergy with any on-premise offerings as far as you're aware today?
Nothing that I'm aware with today. Doesn't mean there won't be something tomorrow.
Yeah.
There are we have a large number of self-hosted PAM customers that would probably love to see this type of functionality. And I think it's just a matter of time. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Before we see, larger integration. But I think right now for us to get, it's just faster for us to kind of integrate everything with a new platform out of the gate than we start dealing with, self-hosted environments.
Yeah, no. So that's fine. And the fact that it's kind of pretty in tune with shared services makes sense that there wouldn't really be any initial synergy with on-premise offerings, but that's not to say that we don't understand that there will always be a need for an on-premise presence. I myself come from a large financial institution before I worked at CyberArk, so I am completely aware of all of the things that they don't want touching the cloud or SaaS, or, simply compliance doesn't allow it to happen. So definitely, we'll need to keep an ear out for that. But being SaaS-based definitely gives us the agility to try things a lot quicker there, to make things move a lot quicker there, because we control, what it's running on. It's a little bit easier to do. So we do have a question from LinkedIn, from Parish. Is the safe access request tile that you showed us earlier, is that a custom app, or is that something that they can pick out of the catalog in flows?
Yeah, so it's not pre-built into the to be available via a catalog yet. We're in the process of building out what we're going to be calling it. I think the tentative name is the Flows Factory, where we'll have a community of user submitted and CyberArk submitted flows, very similar to the safe access request flow that you saw, where if somebody comes up with something that automates something in their environment and they want to share that out with the community, then by all means that can be something that's done. But in the sense of, is it something off the shelf that you could just quickly download as if like the marketplace? Not yet. It is something that was kind of built through our Flows low code no code platform, but again, it's not a super complex type of workflow to automate. But the nice thing is once you kind of do get that kind of set up, it can be published out as what we call a micro app to your end users to give them an interface to tailor that user experience in such a way that it's effectively extremely easy for them to maybe automate a more complex task or something that traditionally would involve 4 people doing something manually and transferring like a ServiceNow ticket to 3 different people to happen. So we're going to get there. I don't know when, but it's something that we're actively trying to get a more of a flows marketplace available for our customers.
Will it be,
and internally too?
Will it be a separate marketplace from the CyberArk marketplace, or do you think it'll be a part of that, just like a new category in it?
So we have some flows in the official marketplace.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were looking at them the other day.
Yeah, we do have a couple of flows from our partners in there. I know that there's one from like Proofpoint
Proofpoint was what we were looking at.
Yeah, so Proofpoint's one that we have, which is really cool. It's a flow that will look at your VAP score for users in Proofpoint.
Oh wait, is it?
No, that's not it.
So the
it's labeled as
look for is Identity as a Service, right? Is this one right here?
Yeah, it's that one. Yep, leveraging. Yeah, so this is the flow here. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to take a look at your users' VAP scores in identity flows. VAP is your very attacked person score. So as people get phished or they get random things being sent to them via email that may be malicious, it's going to jack up that VAP score. And based on what happens to that VAP score, it's going to integrate, send that information over to CyberArk to do some sort of orchestration on, maybe via role-based access control or ABAC or whatever it may be, to say, hey, if someone's VAP score all of a sudden jumps up to 8 or 9 out of 10, maybe remove them from specific roles. Like if the CEO all of a sudden his VAP score jumps up to 10, CEOs are typically, attacked persons because they have the most power.
Right. Yeah.
That, maybe they have access to, some sensitive financial data about an upcoming, merger or something like that, right? They lose access temporarily to that platform until their VAP score is reduced. So this is, these are types of, when you start thinking about the art of the possible, about what you can do with this automation. This is just, one of the 4 that we have out right now. And we're actively working with our partners, to develop more of these flows that encompass, tools that you have out in your, environment already to just, automate as much as we automate as much as we can.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you for that answer. So, there's some out in the marketplace. I would imagine that flows, the actual marketplace that held the flows, would probably be a part of the flows platform because, I can't drag and drop from the CyberArk marketplace onto a flow. I would need to take something away and then separately import it. But if I am sifting through a flows marketplace, right, and I find something that I want, either a one-click add to the sidebar or a drag and drop onto the canvas, or what do you know? What are we calling that? Do you know the little area where you build out your flows?
I call it the canvas. I call it the
really?
flows
So
canvas.
I got it right the first. I've used maybe flows once, and then I watched the hackathon, and that's when I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are crazy with what they're building in flows. Like some of the stuff was amazing. I think the safe request was a part of the hackathon, wasn't it? Didn't it come out of that, or that was pre the hack? I think that was hackathon.
I think that was pre-hackathon. We had some things in the hackathon. We had an awesome flow that was submitted out from out in EMEA where the flow was a panic button flow where all of a sudden we got an alert from the SOC user, Jane. All of a sudden we had some crazy security alert going on and we needed to shut down the user immediately to try and, isolate the potential attack. Clicked one button. The user was working in PS, in the vault. They had 2 PSM sessions open. We looked to see, we automatically disconnected them from the PSM sessions. We log them out of any applications that they have on their endpoint, and we integrated with EPM to trigger a script to force log them out of their endpoint as well, right? Wow. So I think we also revoked access to the items in that they had access to in the vault. So even if they tried to reconnect, they couldn't do it. And this was all executed through flows from a single button, basically.
Wow.
Then we had other
cool.
flow. Yeah, I think it's published on YouTube. I think there's a link to if you want to watch the flow on YouTube. It's called Panic
through
Button.
CyberArk?
Panic Button.
Is it on our CyberArk account or?
It's right here. I'm gonna drop it in. I'll drop it in the chat here.
Awesome. So that chat's just gonna go to YouTube, but I will take it. And,
okay. There you go.
Show it to everyone. So there you go. The Cyber SE, Jared.
Yeah. My YouTube channel. It's not as active as I would like it to be, but there's some stuff on there.
So that's the watch link. I was gonna try and click it, but I can't click it in the platform to show it. But I'll add this into. I don't think it's currently in my CyberArk videos playlist on my YouTube channel, so I'll add it over there, and maybe we can get you some traffic driving over there. Check out your other stuff.
Yeah, and we actually have a whole entire the Identity SE community has put together an entire channel on YouTube called
I found it.
CyberArk Identity Reels.
Yeah. That's cool.
And yeah, we have
that's where I found it from. So CyberArk Identity Reels, and then I guess this is it, the cybersecurity panic button flow.
Yep, that's it. All
right, let's see.
It's a bit of a long video, so if you go like halfway
I'm just
in,
skipping through.
Yeah, right there. Go back.
Oh, here.
When you see the PSM windows open.
Kind of hard to see. What's going on with this thing? Oh my goodness. There we go.
So basically what's happening right now is we're just kind of setting the stage, right? It's showing what the user has access to within the platform. This is actually an example of what the flow looked like on the back end. Yeah. Flow is going to be run. We're going to run that flow and show you what that panic, like how do you invoke this specific flow? So run the flow. It's going to pop open that little micro app, and it's going to say remove access. It's going to, I believe, it's hard for me to see, but I think it's asking who the user is. The user status currently enabled, I think, how many PSM sessions they have open and what desktop they're connected to. And then we're going to go through here, and you're going to see that those are the two PSM sessions that are going to automatically get disconnected and logged off from the execution of that flow. Boom, gone. And then, right, we saw that they had access to certain objects in the vault. We're just going to reload those rights, which on the shared services model, that's how you kind of refresh your permissions.
Boom, no access.
You'll notice no access anymore. They got logged. Their account got disabled there. Now, right, because EPM is also installed on this workstation, as that flow continues to run, and we have that kind of, we can execute PowerShell through EPM, users automatically logged off from that endpoint, right? So basically, you look at it as almost an ITDR to be able to isolate an incident through a single click of a button to, hopefully attack, to mitigate any sort of security threat that may be, that may be active.
Cool. That is that. Boom. Let me hold on. It's still going.
Yeah, it's just going to kind of go through and show the
That's
that
cool,
we indeed locked everything down.
How many hours do you think can you estimate that it took to create that particular flow?
Don't know. I think some of these flows were developed, I think, before we GA'd some of this, so there was still probably a lot of learning that was happening as part of the process of going through that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I do when I develop my flows, right, is I do a back of the napkin effectively, right? Yeah. I actually draw out what do I want this to look like. So then it's no different than when I'm coding. I try and put all my comments in of what I want my my PowerShell to do before I actually start doing anything. So I remember what the goal is of what you're developing.
Well, you get the steps down at a high level.
Exactly.
Too,
Exactly.
I need to authenticate 50 times to identity to get my session token. Then I need to.
Right.
We'll
It's
get there,
something
buddy.
like
We'll
that.
get there. No,
The
so but it's not like I saw that flow. I gotta imagine that, you know, it was definitely less time than needing to build that out in YAML, to run it through
yeah.
Ansible or something like that. But it still looks like it took a little bit of time. So, but the thing too is that I'm wondering with flows is if, and I've used similar platforms in the past, just not flows. So I'm familiar with concepts that flows has, but mainly in the context of other platforms, and some other platforms support the ability to create some, kind of like functions where you create a functional group of tasks and you save it. And
Yep.
and then another functional group of tasks and you say, and then you can just drag in those groups of tasks and reuse them throughout. So it may be that to develop all of those actions from scratch, yeah, it takes a little while. But, a large percentage of those actions can be generically saved as functional
Yeah,
groups of
you can make, they could be
flows that are
modules.
reused
Yeah.
and stuff, like disconnecting the PSM session.
Hmm.
That happened twice from what we saw, but that was really only created once and then reused again and again and again, and
Right.
all
You know,
the
maybe
flows that need to do that.
passing some variables into the
Right.
flow that, so you're doing the right thing. But like, for example, when I built my flow for our hackathon, I wanted to do something with AI. It seems like everything is AI driven right now. So,
Yeah.
I wanted to do some NIST 863 analyzation on authentication profiles, how strong my MFA was, why, we natively will tell you what level, or we'll estimate the level of how strong an authentication profile is in CyberArk Identity via, AAL1 to AAL3, but it doesn't give you the context necessarily of why is this an
Yeah.
AAL3 or why is this an AAL2. So I was like, let me see what happens. So I was working with ChatGPT, and I was, the part for me to getting all the logic within CyberArk to do what I needed against our API, that was super straightforward. I didn't have any problems with that. But working with the ChatGPT API and getting everything right and making sure I'm sending over the right tokens and parsing the response that they sent back and how they handle line breaks and how they handle escaping characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I ended up spending the most time
Yeah.
in my flow, was understanding how I received some of the payloads
Right.
from another third party. Right. And so that's, from my experience, that's where I've tended to spend more time focusing, is when you don't necessarily know what that payload response is
Right.
gonna be.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, and from experience, the API for ChatGPT is completely different from the interface where you, as a human, are using this natural language to communicate with ChatGPT in a web UI. It's a lot different. There's a lot of other options that you can fine tune for what you're asking through the API. But I'm going to go. We're getting questions in now, which is great. Keep those questions coming, guys. I'm going to start going through the questions just top down. Some of them we may have already answered and you weren't here yet. So we'll let you know, like Nathaniel from YouTube, who asked about the CyberArk secure browser, what the licensing model will be, and if it will work for self-hosted PAM or only pCloud. We already really covered this question, bud. We don't know when it's coming. We don't know the licensing model quite yet. This is really an internal preview of the CyberArk secure browser as it stands today. We do know, though, that initially when it's released, it will not work with self-hosted PAM, but will work with privileged cloud. So it's going to be relying on our shared services platform in order to get the information that it's displaying to you. So hopefully that answers that there for you if you missed it in the beginning. We got a LinkedIn user, just anonymous LinkedIn user, with some great feedback that they would like to see Secure Browser have its config managed centrally by Endpoint Privilege Manager, which would be cool. I don't even know how like the configuration is saved for. I know for like Chrome, Firefox Edge, right, they save it into the cloud. So it's not necessarily, maybe there's like a shadow copy locally that is cached in case you don't have an internet connection. But for the most part, the source of truth is cloud-based. So I
can
would
answer that.
imagine. Oh, excellent. Go for it. I was going to just,
you're just going to riff.
I was going to engineer a solution without even knowing there was one.
So I actually answered it right below that. And I don't know if that,
if
they actually see that, because
Hey,
I realized I replied to LinkedIn users. So I don't know if they cross pollinate, but probably not. So we didn't get to it, but the secure browser is fully manageable. That is managed. You can manage it via a central portal within the shared services platform. So it's not necessarily through the EPM console. And there are some predefined best practices, right? You can click a switch and you can automatically harden the browser with one click. Now, again, all of that is doing is basically setting those security. It basically is leveraging the registry, right?
Yeah.
To set the proper GPOs effectively. To harden it. So even if you didn't have cloud access, those policies would still be enforced. So that's kind of how the central management of it takes place.
So
and there also is an inventory. So you can see like how many people have it deployed, what the version status is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If they're upgrading or not, things like that. That's cool.
Yep, exactly.
So Jane, another question from her. Well, not really a question. I think she's trying to, check out the secure portion of the name CyberArk Secure Browser. And her idea is if she has an individual who has access to identity, and they have access to a credential in CyberArk, can they use the CyberArk Secure Browser to access that credential without consuming a license from the privilege cloud side of the house? I'm going to guess we don't know the answer to this. And I would further guess that this would not be possible come time that the browser is generally available to the public. But you may have more information around that, technical information.
I have some technical background. Work. Yeah. So what allows us to actually read and connect to those objects that you have access to within the vault is there's a notion of a platform token. So when a user logs in to the identity platform, they have a unique platform token that's assigned to them. That platform token is granted specific permissions based on the roles that the end user is. So in order for the user to have access to objects within, EPV within the vault, they need to effectively have the rights to authenticate against the vault, to be able to call the APIs, to bring those connection strings, and to bring those accounts in. So in order to effectively for the platform token to authenticate against privileged cloud, to pull that through, that user would have to be a licensed user in order for that API call to return what that user has privileges for. So they still need access to log in to privileged cloud. This is just delivering the connection in a much more user-friendly manner.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us who have been around CyberArk for several years, right? Jane is one of us, right? She's one of our champions. I know who she is. Like we hang out at Impacts and stuff and catch up and stuff. So she's been around CyberArk for a while as a customer. I think that there is a lot of changes that are hard to accept when you're moving from being so ingrained in the self-hosted side of the house and really changing to the concepts that SaaS brings, because when we're talking about, getting access to privileged cloud, we're really talking about, the users who are accessing identity at the end of the day, right? You need to come into and authenticate to identity in order to then get access to privileged cloud. So a little bit different from the self-hosted days where we had a license file that counted EPV users that was applied to the vault, and that dictated how many users could authenticate and access that vault. Now that things are more, now that we have the SaaS version of things, it allows us to change a lot of the ways that these things were working before, to where now we can utilize identity as, for lack of a better term, that metric of users that have access to things, right? Roles that are applied to identities in an identities admin console, rather than having an EPV user account that's directly related to the vault. I think that if we had taken that approach with our SaaS-based products, it would lead to a lot of these circumstances where I'm getting access through identity, but because my licensing is only associated with the vault, I am sneaking in and kind of, side skirting the licensing limitations that I have applied to the vault by using identity. But that's not the case here. When we talk about the shared services platform, these are back-end services that link Privilege Cloud to identity, to Secrets Hub, to Conjure Cloud, to Dynamic Privileged Access, to Secure Cloud Act. All of these pieces are communicating with each other across the shared services backend that we own and manage, and they are streamlined even more than anything self-hosted we can do, because we control the architecture that is built around that. When we're talking in terms of self-hosted, we don't have the ability to do really cool things like this, because every organization that we go to is going to have a different way that they're doing something. And so we have to plan, all of these solutions and services that we're offering. We need to plan for each of those different variables being introduced when we're self-hosting, because we don't have control over what it's being deployed on, or how it's being set up, or what the system requirements are. We can give recommendations, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean you have to follow those recommendations. It doesn't mean that there isn't the need to open up security exceptions sometimes to get certain things to work. So these are all things that come up in the self-hosted world that aren't present in the SaaS world. And so while it seems like sometimes things are magically happening, that is the magic of SaaS, and us being able to control the environments where all of this automation and event-driven actions are taking place. So I definitely, if you couldn't tell by now, love SaaS and the modern approach to things. I will admit, though, that it took me, I'd say about a year and a half to come around to the idea of putting any passwords or secrets in the cloud. But that was me and my traditional security mind, and just immediately being adverse to any sort of change. But I am fully on board now, a couple years later. I love all of our SaaS-based products. They are super easy to work with, and they are secure. I use them myself. I put my stuff in them. I am eating our own dog food, so to speak. So is Jared. He's in there with me.
I'm drinking our own champagne.
We trust each other enough that we can coexist in the same environment. But yeah, so I'm sure you may parrot the same experience, although I think that you are one of the lucky few who came right in and you are SaaS immediately, because you've always been identity focused for the most part, right?
Not always.
Oh, okay.
I started right before. I started November before the pandemic, so I came into CyberArk like November 2019.
Okay.
And there was no. We had just launched the forbidden product called Alero. Right, it's no longer Alero; it's remote access. Right,
Yeah.
but so that was my first. So I kind of started here. Doing the whole learning the whole entire self-hosted platform, learning.
Okay.
I mean, learning self-hosted EPM, and CCP, CP.
Well, how did you get into
AIM.
identity then, if you started off like that?
Well, shortly after, I started, I think it was shortly after our sales kickoff in 2021, which was literally, or 2020, right before the pandemic hit. In fact, I'm pretty sure some folks already had COVID our kickoff. But
I'm pretty sure I got it in Miami.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, right,
Yeah, I was pretty laid out for a couple weeks thereafter, so I'm pretty sure, well, a couple of us got
Joe
it.
Garcia, patient zero. We had just launched Alero, and it was this new shiny object, and I was like, I want to learn everything that I possibly can learn about this new product. So I became like the unofficial SME of Alero, right? And our vendor PAM and remote access.
Yeah.
So, and I had come from an identity background, right? I had previously managed, Azure stacks, and I've done the Intune, and I've done all that kind of stuff, right? So it was like it was something that I was always passionate about, right? I always love to say I love identity. But when we kind of started, when I found out about this, this new thing that we're doing, right? We're building this new platform, and it's all going to be focused on this identity. And I was like, oh my God, like I was like calling my name. So I was given the opportunity to, become the first, person from CyberArk that was a traditional SE at the time to make that transition to join like the SE force at, the new incoming Adaptive. And I've been part of that machine kind of ever since, as that's kind of transitioned from, a standalone identity provider into this larger, shared services platform that that's come to be. So that's kind of how the quick backstory of how I ended up.
That's cool.
In this
I thought you came from Adaptive. I'm going to be honest.
No,
I thought we acquired you, and just kind of was like, yeah, he's the SE they had, so he's now our SME too.
They had to pay. They paid the Jarbro tax. No.
Yeah, they put it in the jar, bro.
Exactly, right? The jar. That's right. But I will say, like, having all of the foundational knowledge of EPM and PAM, and I think we were still calling it AIM at the time, and
it's gone through a couple iterations.
It's it really it helps you understand the need for this shift, right, to this cohesive. We had all these products, but they were very kind of siloed, and now they're kind of all, like you said, they're all talking to each other through this backplane. And
dude, it's crazy. You want to know that I want to get to, we got a couple more questions. So I do want to get to them, but I didn't realize, like, when you're living day to day and you're head down, you're just going from call to call, presentation to presentation, demo to demo, and you're doing your work, or you're a customer and you're day in, day out, you're just managing your accounts, you're onboarding them, you're making sure everything's running good. You don't really ever get a chance to just like stop and step away at a point in time and then come back later and then really assess the changes that took place. I had that opportunity last year because when my son was born, I had the fortunate luck to be able to take 3 months off, an entire quarter from CyberArk, right? A software sales company, and I was gone an entire quarter, but I left Impact last year was my last day. And then I didn't return until the end of August. So we're talking May to August, right? Like that was my time. I had the whole summer off, but I came back from post Impact and all the excitement that goes on after Impact and everything that, we've got going on after Impact. I came back in August and it was night and day. The amount of changes that took place while I was gone, just from the products that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, just Conjure Cloud and Secrets Hub blew me away. But then as I started looking at the rest of the platform and how things were starting to work together, that was the first time that I was able to see the amount of work that is actually put in and the amount of updates that happen specifically in our SaaS version, because we have that ability to just push changes, every weekend if we wanted to, right? As long as it's not during business hours. We get it, guys. We get it. But no more
binaries.
cool.
And
because I I was like, you know what? It's very rare I'm going to get 3 months off. I'm going to completely disconnect and then come back fresh faced, right? Like completely renewed, which was amazing, by the way. Everyone, regardless of your industry, regardless of your organization, should get 3 months off every at least 4 or 5 years. Like night and day for burnout, for refreshing and stuff. Like I had a baby that I was taking care of and 2 kids on summer vacation that I was trying to keep entertained. So I was extremely busy, but even without that, like just being able to take that time off and do something other than work is amazing. So
It's like a mini
just had to say
sabbatical.
that. Basically it is, right? But without really being offered a sabbatical.
Right.
So I did bring this up. Fabrizio's out there on LinkedIn, and he saw the TOTP code during your demonstration, and so he asked if that was available today or if that was something that they needed to wait for, like the CyberArk secure browser that was being showed kind of in tandem with. So can you give a little bit of information on that? That's the Fabrizio. That's the TOTP support that I imagine PSM has. Is that where we were looking?
Well, we showed 2 different methods of storing TOTP.
There was one in Identity.
There was one in Identity. So let me before we go that, both of them are available today. So depending on how you want to, you know, which way you want to do it, you can do it through the PSM connector, which is available via our marketplace.
Right.
And you can also do it natively through Identity. If you have access to an identity tenant, then you can kind of share it out to your partner, right? So either way is available. It's probably, depending on how you're handling your partners, you may have to tie a little bit of remote access in there, but yeah, both of them are available today, and it just depends on how you want to kind of do it.
But like Fabrizio and his particular use case that he gave us of not needing to ask his partner for a code anymore would be resolved by this, right?
Yep. Yeah, because once you share that account out, the end user has access to view that shared code. So if someone ever leaves the organization, you don't have to worry about like going around and being like, all right, everybody, we got to rescan the QR codes and get a new TOTP, set up. So
yeah, cool. There you go, Fabrizio. You can set it up today. Just got to get the TOTP information out of our docs at docs.cyberark.com and set it up. And then you don't have to worry about, pinging your friend anymore to get a code sent to you. And then it changes by the time you use it and you need to get another code. And then it just keeps going back and forth.
You only got 30 seconds.
Is it 30 seconds? I think that even though it changes after 30 seconds, I think the time to live on those are actually longer, like closer to 100 seconds.
It's
a little deceiving.
Yeah, there is some SKU available on the TOTP. They're going to generate every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But I think, based on clock SKUs and all that kind of stuff and time drifting, I think they do last a little bit longer. I'm not exactly sure how long.
I saw a talk at DEF CON 24, I want to say, where someone took these TOTP codes and they were able to it was TOTP sent over SMS. So whatever that type of authentication is called. And basically
SMS.
What they created though was in AWS, a containerized botnet essentially that would try to brute force the SMS codes and respond back. And what they found was that they could scale the containers out to crack a 6-digit SMS code in under 100 seconds. So, and this was 4 years ago or something like that I was watching this talk. So I'm sure it's doing a lot better now and can handle more than 6 digits. But at the time, that was 6 digits, and that was several years ago. This wasn't done in Kubernetes. I think he was just like using auto scaling groups and EC2s with like Docker and containers on it and stuff, and then just scaling them out that way. But using today's services and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if, 7 or even 8 digits could be brute forced within 100 seconds if you scale out enough with a botnet of containers doing that work, which
Fun
is
fact,
pretty crazy.
CyberArk Identity's default TOTP length is 8 characters.
Boom! We are super secure. Let's go out of the box by default. That's what I like to hear.
So you can configure that if 8 characters is too long for your users, right? You can go back down to 6.
No, it in the talk was Twitch. There was
Okay.
someone from Twitch there with their Twitch, employee shirt on. That's how I knew they worked at Twitch. And I am not kidding. I was logging into my Twitch account a couple weeks after DEF CON, and they changed their SMS numbers from 6 to 8. Like within 2 weeks of the talk, I was like, somebody actually implemented it based on the talk. Like, that's cool. Go Twitch, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But we still got some questions in here. Jane was kind of replying back to us as we were talking. Oh, that's not the one. This one is it. And she mentioned that CyberArk licenses are not consumed until they log into CyberArk, which is correct. Yeah, that's correct. But the API wouldn't use the human accounts to connect. I think that maybe Jane missed the very beginning of the demonstration where you opened up the browser and was immediately, you tried going to yahoo.com and then were immediately directed to the identity login page where you had to log in and then go ahead and he disappeared on me. That's okay. We'll be able to talk. So maybe you missed that, Jane. I don't know. Oh, he's back. Maybe,
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I can handle a show on my own too, so I wasn't too worried about it.
No.
But I think
there's just
Jane
there was a lot of activity going on.
That's okay.
In the apartment. I was just.
But I think Jane missed that part. Basically, is what I was getting at. So, and then there is our first question not pertaining to you. I think you'll be very happy about that. Maybe you have the answer though, because I just started diving into the EPM API 2 days ago to get it back into the Postman collection. A new API for EPM was introduced, so I had to remove the old one from Postman, and I've been putting in the new one now. You'll see the work in progress out there if you go check it out. But this question from Tech Chef out on YouTube is, if it's possible to onboard loosely discovered accounts in pending status, which I honestly, Jared, I'm going to be upfront here. I've never done loosely discovered accounts before through EPM or anything like that. Do you have any experience with that? Yeah. So
I don't, unfortunately.
I'll tell you what, Tech Chef, we will put this question on the back burner, and I will get a solutions architect to be able to help out. We've got a couple that may be hanging out in YouTube right now. If they are, they can answer this question in chat. That would be awesome because that live chat will play back on demand. But otherwise, we'll get to this question. I'll research it and look it up and stuff as I go through the EPM API, and we'll touch on it on the next episode of Ask Joe Anything, and we'll bring it back. I do want to also, let everyone know that if you are watching this, you want to come back later and check it out, you can watch this on demand. It'll be available on YouTube. Should also be available on demand on LinkedIn as well. And if you are watching on demand, just go ahead and ask your questions in the comments. I'll be able to see the comments come through. The comment section should reflect a normal YouTube video by the time you're watching this on demand. Or you can go out to our Discord community. This is a community owned and operated CyberArk Discord server. This is not anything official to CyberArk whatsoever. I am not even an administrator or moderator or anything on it. I just hang out and chat with everyone. But this Discord community linked at the bottom, you can go to. That is an invite link. You may join it. Say hi to Leo. Jane's out there. Everyone who has asked questions for the most part today, Nathaniel, they're all out there. They are also very, very smart in CyberArk products from a customer's perspective, from a partner's perspective. Definitely using it, scaling it, deploying it, experiencing the pain that may be associated with it, but also the joys of having it work the way that you want it to, and being able to get it set up and flowing very nice. So Discord community, lots of different channels out there for all the different services, and they have their own weekly office hours as well. I think tomorrow from like noon to 2 or something like that. They typically do office hours in that Discord channel. So those are another great place to get your questions answered if you're waiting for the next Ask Joe Anything. So with that, I am not really seeing any other questions coming in. Tech Chef did thank us though, so he is still out there in YouTube watching and listening. So outside of that, Jared, I want to end the stream with giving you the opportunity to lay on us anything you've got going on out there, whether it's some sort of event, a webinar, a website, you just want to plug your new jars company you're starting up, whatever it is that you want to talk about. This is your chance, man.
This is my chance.
This is it.
Man, this is it.
Make it count.
They make it count. So for those of you, if there's anyone out there in the New York City area, we're going to be doing an in-person event coming up in it's February or March. I don't have the exact date, but it's coming soon. So we're going to go over probably a bunch of what we talked about today in a much smaller kind of live forum, and we'll be able to answer any questions and maybe even dive a little bit deeper on some of the things that we talked about today. And I mean, we're going to be out in Identiverse. If you're going to be out at Identiverse in May in Vegas, so that's always a fun event.
Who runs Identiverse?
That? It's now run by they sold the show to another
CyberArk.
event.
We own it.
we own it. The Cyber Security Summit, maybe Cyber Summit.
Okay. Cybersecurity Symposium, maybe. Is that it? Symposium. I don't know. Oh, that's the DOJ.
That's the DOJ. It's
there's a bunch actually. Apparently, everybody uses that as the name of their event. It's all colleges. The DOJ.
It's hosted by the Cyber Risk Alliance.
Cyber Risk Alliance. Okay.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But we're gonna be out. Yeah. I mean, I will likely be there. It's a fun show. We always talk about a ton of identity security there. Obviously, Impact is coming up. And in fact, I just got word.
This one, right?
Which one?
The No Identity Conference. It says
I don't know. It's Identiverse.
Is
actually, hold on.
Oh, there it is. Ooh, that's pretty. Man, I like those colors. I don't understand what this has to do with identity, but it's very cool. Powering online live. Okay, so it's like I got it.
Because I did that. Those little lights on top of those wires, those are identities flowing through the pipes.
Those are our online lives. So exactly. It's the 28th through. Man, you're gonna have a busy May, maybe, huh? I expect you at RSA.
I was at RSA.
Are you at it this year? Because it's the first week of May, and then we've got Impact the 20th through the 23rd. And then the following week, you're going to be back at it in Vegas for Identiverse. You're going to have a very busy May, my friend.
I will tell you.
If you end up at RSA.
I will tell you, last year was very busy. I went to Impact. I went to Impact, and then I was at Identiverse. And then after that, I was at RSA. So it was like nonstop.
Yeah, it was weird.
For a bit. There is one other event that is kind of new this year.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably be getting emails about it from your account reps. We're doing a hackathon in Newton, actually.
What? Like for more than employees?
Yep.
What? We should have led with this. Why are we doing this at the end of the live stream?
I don't know.
That is really cool. Can you keep a secret anti-hackathon? Now that is a cool concept. Tell me more.
So I literally just found out about it yesterday.
I hope my manager is still watching this because I need to go.
Yeah, I think I don't know how many sessions there are. I know they're trying to keep it small. So if it's something that you're interested in, I'd definitely reach out to whoever your point of contact is.
I mean, you're a manager now. Can I just reach out to you right now?
Yeah. Let's just
approved.
Approved. Done. Check.
Sweet. You hear that, Tim?
So yeah, I mean, it's 60-minute challenge against peers to secure secrets.
Wow.
We're experts from the CyberArk Red team, real world attack simulations, and prizes. What kind of hackathon would it be without prizes?
Yeah, that's cool. So imagine if your department just discovered that a ransomware group has exploited embedded credentials in the energy grid's operational applications. Wow. Considering what I watched yesterday from the FBI director in front of the Senate committee, this is actually extremely relevant to what he was talking about. Can you flip the switch and find the secrets before everything goes dark? That is really cool. I don't expect you to know this, but we did something back I think it was 2019 at this point now, when you first started, I guess, if you started in 2019. Some of our partners out there may remember it because it was a portion of impact that we did specifically between the employees and the partners called CyberArk Tech Jam. And it was set up in an area outside of Impact, but in the same, like conference area. And they had stations set up that you had a team of 4 people. It was like a CyberArk employee and 3 partners. And everybody split up into teams, and they would go station to station. And each station is some sort of an attack that you have to do in order to gain access to secrets. And then you have to defend it and do the flip side, right? Kind of like attack, defend in that road show that we did with Len and Andy Thompson, but like you're actually a part of it this time and you're doing it. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. I think Leo was there. He was in chat earlier. But it was great. And so if this is anything like that at all, which it kind of sounds like it is, but for customers, it is going to be so much fun and it's going to be so successful. And I hope that I can make something happen to show up on March 6th from 9:30 to 2. So that is really cool, information to have. If you can you drop that link into the YouTube chat so that way people can get it when they're watching the video and get to it a lot quicker. I'm sure it's hard to search for otherwise unless you're getting like a direct mail, campaign sent to you or something like that.
Yeah, I'll double check to make sure I can share it publicly.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
That's a good point.
I don't want to cause any and make any waves. So, but just something that's,
I will say this. How about this?
Yeah.
We'll do it a different way, right? If you are interested in this and you are in the northeastern region of the United States, so you can make it to Newton, Massachusetts to participate, reach out to whoever it is that is not me, that at CyberArk, whether that is a salesperson, customer success person, or otherwise, and ask them for more information regarding this hackathon on March 6th so that you can get that information. while we're on the topic of events, do you know if you've been tapped for? Are we doing a road show this year? Usually, it seems like after Impact, we do like these little mini impacts everywhere. Do you know if we're doing that this year or not? I haven't heard anything
I
personally, but
don't.
I
I
never
know we
really
typically do
participate.
like Impact, like the traveling world,
So I
Impact.
did hear we had someone promoted a couple weeks ago, and I think that they dropped a mention that there's going to be a Q&A on like something that they are, that pertains to them on the road. I think the road show is happening again, basically, is what I'm getting at. We haven't been given
There
any
is one
dates
in
yet.
DC.
Oh, okay. There's
I
one in
know.
DC for
I'll
the
because I'll
government,
be
but not
there.
sure about commercial. Okay. Oh, okay.
I'll be there for Impact in DC.
So something is happening.
Something's happening.
More to come. Probably will have the schedule available at Impact, since they usually are a post-Impact type of event. So, more to come closer to May. And then finally, what did I watch before the Senate committee by the FBI? So I mean, you can just Google, Christopher Wray Senate committee, and you can find it and check it out on your own. I'm not going to go deep into the weeds with this sort of stuff. You can check out what he said to the Senate committee and make your own decisions and inform yourself. So with that, if you are watching live, I want to thank everyone out there for hanging out for 2 hours with the great Jarbro, Jared Brodsky. Thank you for joining me today, buddy. And
Glad to be here.
Yeah, dude, no problem. Go check him out at Jarbro on all the social media places that you know. He is also the Cyber SE on YouTube, so you can follow him there as well. Outside of that, we'll do this again next month, and by next month we'll have a new guest. So sorry, Jared, but we do appreciate you coming on. We'll have you on again.
I had a lot of fun.
And I will be able to start to showcase some of the cool AI stuff that we're going to start introducing into the platform. So that'll be a lot of fun to showcase as well. So definitely come back next month for Ask Joe Anything. But until then, everybody, stay secure.